Let's talk about Chaz today. Oh, actually, it's been rebranded just in case you're not up to speed on the rapid developing communist state within the United States. Chaz, which was known as Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. So Chaz for short has just been rebranded Capitol Hill Organized Protesters. CHOP. So, regardless, I think the name sucks. I think even Stalin would be like, come on, guys, let's give this a bit of a better, staunchier name, like something more provocative, something more intimidating than CHOP, Anyways. Hey gang, let's go to CHOP. Okay, so I knew I was too happy to make this video. I should have waited until some other news comes in and makes me mad. But no, the reason I'm so happy is because CHOP, as it is now known, what they've done now is they have backed, the leftists of the United States have now backed themselves in a corner. So why was CHOP started? It was started because a bunch of protesters from Black Lives movement took over the city. Now, I'm pretty sure they're infiltrated with Antifa, which has been deemed a terrorist organization in the States. But CHOP right now is mostly Black Lives Matter organization, and they've taken over part of Seattle, and now they're trying to negotiate with the city, I don't know, become communist state. Now, Black Lives Matter is a Marxist-Leninist group. They're very much communist to the core. And this is them saying that. This is not me analyzing or interpreting. This is literally what they are telling us they are doing. And as them taking part like this in a protest where you're seizing a part of the city is essentially establishing a communist de facto state within the United States. Even though they say that's not what they're doing, that is actually what is going on. And why I say they've backed themselves into a corner, which I find highly amusing, I am loving everything about CHOP, is because now they are going to be held to the rules that they've been, advocating for the last few years since Black Lives Matter is a thing. So now they can't make any mistakes. They have to be absolutely perfect, and they, in no circumstance, if they're going to wish to remain credible on the world scene, they cannot break any of the rules that they themselves have set out to fight, right? So they're fighting right now because of the black guy who got killed by the white cop. So there's the police brutality angle to it right now, but really they're fighting about the whole race thing, right? Now that they have their own little state within the United States, now that they have CHOP, this is going to be a party for me for the next few days, just watching this go down, because I already know how a communist state is going to go down. Anybody who's been watching my videos where I try to warn you about why I don't want communism in Canada, you'll know why. But for the rest of the world, it might be a good opportunity to be red-pilled on this. And I really hope that in Canada, we are watching closely so that we can have our sleeping Canadians who think there's no problem in Canada, nothing going wrong here, it's all great here, Canada is perfect. I hope we're watching this because Canada has a very, very advanced push for Marxism within our ranks. And watching how CHOP is going to decline over the next few days is going to be kind of awesome, to be quite honest. So the first thing that's really important to mention is now that they have their own little zone, they can't blame Trump. So it's perfect. I hope that President Trump, who it's his birthday today, happy birthday, President Trump, if you, I hope that you're just going to stay out of it. Keep the government out of it. Just say, yes, this is an autonomous zone. They have nothing to do with the United States anymore. They're considered an ex-state or whatever you want to brand it. But I hope that there's no military intervention, because what's going to happen if there's any form of military intervention is the rest of Black Lives Matter that is living outside that zone will seize that opportunity to make this group martyr. So it'll be martyrdom situation. So when that happens, Black Lives Matter could potentially gain a lot more support across the world if they're in that position. But if President Trump just kind of leaves them alone and doesn't do anything and says, yes, we don't recognize this as being part of the states anymore, you've set up your own state, your own autonomous zone, which is essentially that. It's saying we're autonomous from the government, we're autonomous from any of the infrastructure of the United States, and we're going to redo our own thing. That's what an autonomous zone means. And really it's just saying we're going to apply the Marxist theory in this zone. So President Trump, if he stays out of it, they're going to crash by themselves. And I think furthermore, he should do something like, this is what I would do if I was in charge of a country. I'm not, so who the hell am I, right? But this is what I would recommend doing is you ask, you send out you issue an alert for all the people who are living in that zone that don't want to be there, because this was an invasion, right? So anybody who's living in that autonomous zone that wants to get the hell out of there, the president, the United States, the state, whoever should help them get out of there. If the state doesn't do it because it's a democratic state, I don't think they will do it. But it would be fantastic to see some kind of GoFundMes to get these people out, like some kind of all the American patriots come together and say, we're going to get the patriots who are stuck in this zone, we're going to get them out of there and help them find a new house outside of the zone, help them find a business, kickstart their business if they're business owners, all of that stuff. And then you just let that zone be the autonomous zone. Once you've achieved that, it's going to go downhill so fast. It already has. So out of CHOP, CHOP, I can't even believe I'm saying that. It sounds so stupid. Out of CHOP, there can be absolutely no failures coming out, because now President Trump is not involved. Now they have their own zone that they're controlling. There is no police going in. So technically, according to their own theory, this should be the utopia. So there can be no failures coming out of it. So we should see there can be no racism. We should see no famine happening. We should see no police, happening. There should be no formation of any police entity within that state. There should be no guns, and there should be no crime, and there should be no borders. But ironically enough, within 1 week of this CHOP existing, they have broken all of their own rules. And this is where they're still benefiting from, the stores and the community that was already there, that had already started things. So for example, their garden that they're starting, they benefited from people donating seedlings that were already well on their way, and that would be easily transplantable. So they didn't produce anything yet. There's nothing in CHOP that has been produced by the new occupants, the protesters, the invaders, really. Nothing has been produced by them. So they're still kind of living off the high of like taking over a city that was running before, and a part of a city, not the whole city, thank goodness. But, if we can just let them be from now on and just laugh at them as their failures are exposed more and more. So we've already seen that they have racism. There's a part of the garden that is addressed only for Blacks and native Indians. So that means that part of that land is not accessible to any person of any other race. So in essence, a segregation element, which is racism, because you're being segregated based on the color of your skin. This is exactly what Martin Luther King was fighting against. In CHOP, they have now reinstated kind of a 1950s America segregation type. It's really hilarious to watch. And it's essentially the affirmative action within CHOP, right? So affirmative action is where you give benefits to people that have normally Black people, but it could be brown people, whatever. You give them a benefit to compete with the people who are whites and Asians by hiking up their SAT scores, or allowing them to go into university programs with lesser grades than the whites or the Asians. That's affirmative actions. I didn't make it up. It's a racist policy within itself. But now they're doing the affirmative action within CHOP. So that means instead of the job going to the person who can actually farm, it's going to the person who has Black skin. So it doesn't matter if you are qualified or not, you get the job based on your skin. So ultimately, just in itself, that's going to fail. So we're going to see how quickly affirmative action in the real world doesn't work. We're going to see an expanded, like, crash course version of that in CHOP. Now, furthermore, within 1 week, they've managed to put up a border, which is, remember, no borders. Didn't they scream that when President Trump was trying to build the wall? We don't want a border. And now all of a sudden they have a border. And now there can be no police, but they have their own police force. So they have their own little police force that they've come up with. They also, every time there's a mass shooting, they go, no guns, no guns. And now the first thing they do is they have an AK-47 on that warlord that's walking around. They say no crime, but yet there's been looting and rape and civil disobedience and all sorts of crime happening by these invaders of the new CHOP. So it's like a mini USSR just watching this go by. And I'm at the point where I almost hope that these lefty liberals do that same thing up here in Canada. I hope that they take part of a city and try to make, the Canadian commie CHOP, whatever they want to call it up here in Canada. But that would be so great, because it would actually open the eyes of Canadians as to what is really going on. So first of all, we start realizing Black Lives Matter is not about race. It's about communism. They're trying to bring about communism. Same for Antifa. They're communist in nature. They're hiding behind the race thing, but really what they want to bring about at the end of the day is a communist state. So now we are seeing that unfold like live. It's like almost like we're live streaming the establishment of communism. So we'll see for a few days, weeks, months, however long they decide to be there. It'll be great. But then when they run out of food, when they run out of everything, then chaos will ensue, and it will be exactly like the USSR. Now, another reason that I'm happy is because as a mom, I'm thinking like, I wouldn't, my kids would be out of my basement by then, but imagine you have like all these Antifa and Black Lives Matter 22-year-olds that are now living in CHOP. The moms are probably happy they're no longer in the basement. That's the only thing I can think about when I see all these people protesting in the new CHOP, is how there must be a bunch of mommies out there just happy they don't have these squatters in their basement. Anyways, oh my gosh, I'm way too happy to make this video today. So okay, let me know what you think about this whole thing. I'm gonna keep a close eye on CHOP. We'll see if they keep breaking their own rules that they're fighting for. And see how great their society really is once they realize that their ideology totally sucks. But anyways, let me know in the comments section, and I'll see you guys in the next one.